welcome back to Spiritually Awkward Podcast. Some woo-woo, mostly wisdom. My name is Kaylee,
I'm Danielle.
and today's topic is prayer, manifestation, magic. It's the same thing. So let's get into what we are actually talking about today. So when it comes to things we want and would like to see happen, we have the tendency to reach for a higher power that's outside of ourselves, and we throw it out into the universe and earnestly hope that it happens. So what is that? So that is you telling the universe what you want your reality to look like. So let's look at the different kinds. So let's look at prayer. So what is prayer? It's you asking your creator being. I'm assuming that when you are engaging in prayer, you have a certain belief system and you are asking the ultimate power in that belief system to help you with what you want to see and what you want to have. So that's essentially, going to something else and saying, I want, I need. So let's look at manifestation too. So manifestation is you asking the universe to provide what you want or need by calling it into existence. And it's not just the one time. Manifestation is like you saying, this is what my reality is going to look like. This is what I want to have happen, and kind of building up on that image of what you want to see. And then we go into magic or spell work. So that is you doing a ritual with the intention, with each of the steps, to call into existence what you want in a specific way, a specific manner. And so how are these all the same? It's you calling into existence for yourself or for others what you want. They're all the same thing that way. Prayer, you're asking a creator being. Manifestation, you're asking the universe. Magic, you're asking magic to help you do that. Yeah. It's all the same thing. You're still putting that intention out there so that you can bring in what you want. Mm-hmm. It's actively going through the process to make things happen for you. So the thing about these is we all have, so each of these intentions, right? The prayers, manifestation, the spell work, it's all working towards a goal. It's all actively working towards a goal and what you want to see. So doing these things on a regular basis, focusing your energy towards that end goal so that it becomes a reality for you, that desire is coming from deep within. So what are some of the things that you have seen? Do you have examples of like prayers, how prayers have worked for you?
Yeah. I would say even more so like for family members that have mentioned how they pray. Because I don't necessarily pray, but I can see that it's very similar in what we're trying to achieve. But an example of prayer would be like leave it in God's hands to take care of it, having absolute faith that everything will be okay. And just being in that energy of like believing that everything's going to work out however God sees fit is kind of an example of prayer. And so being mindful too of like what energy are you giving into that prayer to make sure that you're having positive feelings, you're trusting in that. But I was actually, even as you were kind of describing each one, I was realizing that there's actually an interesting, like an energy for each one and how they differ and how they might suit people individually in their needs and their like ways of doing things. So like for manifestation, it's very much like looking inwards as well as trusting yourself to bring into being something for you in working with the universe, but knowing that you are connected to the universe. It's kind of like what manifestation looks like. And then prayer is almost like putting faith in something outside of yourself to do it, complete faith in something outside of you. And then magic and spell work is like this really structured, regimented, this is the task, this is how we do it, this is how it's done. XYZ, I'm going to make these steps to make this happen and it's going to come into being. So that it's very interesting actually just hearing you talk about them and then me like piecing together, oh, actually, it can be any of them can work depending on which one feels right for you as a person. That was really neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so the part about like how it suits everyone else, that's an interesting one because yeah,
Hmm.
it does. Like, do you feel more comfortable calling into existence something for you in form of prayer?
Yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable having a structured approach to it with spell work? That's kind of crazy.
That
That
was really cool.
that was really
Yeah.
cool connection because I didn't even think about that one either when I was writing this up.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that was a really good little like brain moment that just happened. So like there's no right or wrong way to bringing things into your reality, to trusting or calling it into, just finding the one that makes you feel like this feels right and do that. Yeah, like do you have any examples for manifestation that you would share, like how you've seen it work for you?
Yeah, so okay, not to toot my own horn or anything, but like my manifestation game is on point. So,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until recently that I realized that that was what was happening. Like when I
Mhm.
looked deeper into like what manifestation is, because when
Like,
we,
oh.
yeah, like when I manifest things, I'm like, I want. Okay, let's use like the ridiculous, like I want a pony, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm calling into existence a pony. Like I know what color I want it. I know what its name is going to be. I know where I'm going to keep it. Like I know the steps to get there and then I call in this into existence. And then I say this has already happened for me in the future. This is what's going to happen. What ends up happening sometimes is like I actually do get that pony, but it doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, right?
And it's kind of funny.
So like if for instance, like I want I'm gonna win the lottery, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna win the lottery, I'm gonna get a ticket. Like it's already been decided. And this is this is what happened literally recently. I'm gonna go get a lottery ticket
Yeah.
and I'm gonna win. I did win. It was just
Mhm.
$5 instead of the jackpot.
Yeah, but
Like
you
that
won.
those are the yeah, but like I called in a winning. I didn't specify what I wanted because like it was just I'm gonna win the lottery, right? Like the lottery has already been won by me.
Mhm.
It happened to be just $5, but like that's the thing is we call in these manifestations to to bring them into our existence, thinking that they are already ours,
Mhm.
right? And that's I think that's another thing that we will talk about is
Yeah.
like what the intention and the mentality and everything behind the manifestation. But so going back to my whole $5, that's a win. That's a win. Like
Yeah.
sometimes our manifestations come in such a small way that we were like, oh, well, I guess that shit the bed on that one.
Yeah.
Like it did happen.
You just weren't.
It did happen the way that it was supposed to happen,
Mhm.
the way that best suited you, that aligned with your highest good.
Yeah.
You still called it in, it's just not how you thought it was gonna look.
Yeah.
And so we often discount that and make that as like, "Oh, our manifestation didn't come true."
Right.
Like, it didn't happen then, I guess.
Like you just weren't looking in the right places, or you weren't in the right energy when you were trying to call it in.
Exactly.
We could talk a little bit about that too. Like
Yes.
the I really need something energy, which is kind of like you're in this energy of needing something instead of, oh my God, I'm so glad I have that, or I'm so glad I'm getting that. It's so that energy of like, I'm so excited that that's coming true. And it is, it just truly is. And that's a big energy shift.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
thing about manifestation though is like it's such a it's such a I don't know, it's almost like a foreign concept. And I think a lot of people aren't talking about like
Yeah.
they're like, just manifest your dreams. Like, okay, we need to like talk about, we need to properly
Yeah.
talk about what that looks like for people. And like the intention and the whole thing behind it, right, is that you somewhere in the future already have
Mhm.
this thing. You want to build the base of like why you want that thing, why it's important to you that you're going to get it. Like, I think that the reason, so I think that the reason that like the manifestation, like I'm going to win the lottery, right? What was my intention behind that?
Just to win.
Yeah, like what was my intention behind that? And
Hmm.
so I was talking with like so my soul sisters. We'll get into that in another episode. But my soul sisters, I was talking to them and I was like, if I won the lottery, I could build us the retreat center that we've been talking about. Like I could build you a house and I could build you a house and I could build me a house and we'll all live on this and then people will come and then they'll be able to like be in this place where they're safe and accepted and they can learn about themselves and they can grow and just a place of respite for them. So like if I win the lottery, that's what's going to happen. And then also I could do like a horse sanctuary where like we could take like horses that have been injured and we could nurse them
Mm,
back to health. And then we
it's
could have
amazing.
people do horse therapy with them. And
Mhm.
like, so this intention, like I'm building this thing, right? And it's kind of almost like that $5 was just a nugget of like, keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. It's like you're still manifesting the rest of it and accepting that it might come in a different way than you expected it to show up.
Right. So like
Hmm.
that whole thing of me wanting the retreat center and
Yeah.
building us houses and all of that, it might not come in the form
Yeah.
of the lottery, winning the lottery. Like that $5 was just like a good job. You're on the right path, bud.
Yeah. Like this is a little, yes, ma'am. We hear you. Keep going. It's happening.
Yeah.
You're
And
on
it
the
doesn't
right
mean,
path.
yeah. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I have to give up entirely
No,
on
yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like the dream that I want to like be able to put my soul sisters in a place where them and their children can be happy and healthy and
Mhm.
where we can build this like beautiful life and help others. Like it, that goal is still a want. Like that goal is still going to happen for us if we keep going. And so like that little $5 was a nugget, like a little treat from the universe.
It's really cute.
But I
It's
had to
cute.
see it as that.
Yeah.
I had to have the mind frame to see it as that. And we're like, oh my God, $5? Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like it can't be like that.
Yeah.
You
Being
have to have,
grateful.
yeah, you have to have the frame of mind
Hmm.
still. And I think that's
Hmm.
important for prayer, for spell work, for manifestation. For instance, like spell work, right? We've all heard like don't do like don't throw out shade that you wouldn't want to come back to you. Like that's kind of like the basis for magic and spell work. So like
Yeah.
when I'm doing my own personal spell work, right? I call in, and this is important for all of them. Like I call in what is best for my highest good.
Hmm.
Like if I'm asking for something that is not going to help me or benefit me in the long term, I don't want it. Regardless if it's cool at the time. If it's not in my highest good, I don't want it.
Skip that
So
step.
yeah. So when
Hmm.
I'm doing my spell work, right? Like the worst thing that I've ever done was a return to sender. And that is like, I had a person throwing complete shade at me, and I was like, I don't want any of this. I'm just trying to be peaceful. I'm just trying to live my life. Like, I don't know what your problem is, but like,
Yeah.
here you go. Like, just keep that away from me. I put that barrier there to be like, I don't want that. That's the return to sender. And doing a return to sender, right? Like that is me finding the herbs to use, the oil, then setting up the space and cleansing the space, and then picking out the color of the candle that I want to use, and writing down my intentions with this. So like those are all steps to help you keep focused. And that's the same thing with manifestation and prayer, is that focus on that end goal.
Mm-hmm.
But like the mentality I had was, I want to keep my peace.
Yeah.
I don't want, I don't know what the like vitriol that you're throwing at me is for, but like, I don't want that right now.
And unfortunately, they're just going to get it right back. So it's manifesting things back to you. If you're throwing
Yeah,
things out, you're bringing them back.
right. Like I just put,
So,
it's like putting up a giant mirror and having you
yeah.
face yourself when you do
Mhm.
things like that. And
Yeah.
that's what I set it up as, is like,
Mhm.
keep that away from me. Now, if my intention was to like, I hope shitty things happen to you, like
That's not good either.
that's not a good thing. And that goes with prayer and manifestation too. Like if you're doing this with the intention of being an asshole, or
Yeah.
like
Like,
having the other
haha.
person have their comeuppance, and not doing it with like love and good
Yeah.
intentions.
Like, I truly hope you see the error with this, and I hope you grow and evolve and hope it's for your highest good to receive this back,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
it's doing it with love,
Yeah.
because essentially love is the language of the universe.
Hmm.
That is the energy that makes up us all. And like
Yeah.
we call love love. I feel like humans have kind of like bastardized that word, but
I agree.
we still have to have like some kind of like a how do I want to put it, like we still have to have a label for it. We still
Yeah.
have to have like this, like, okay, this is a marker, right? We have to
Mhm.
have a name for this. We can't just like think of it, because humans still have a
Yeah.
spoken language. We
Mhm.
have to have this like label for it, but I think that we've taken it out of context over like the evolution
Yeah.
of us, and forgot the original purpose of
Yeah.
naming it that.
Well, if we're all
Like,
part of it and it's all love, we're not looking for love outside of ourselves. We should be
right,
looking for love inside. So it's that
right.
kind of love. That's the love we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's an interesting one too, because
Yeah.
it is like, we're like, when they say love yourself first, right? Okay, first of all, easier said than done with this like
Yeah.
society and the constraints that we have and the expectations that we, it's hard to love
Yeah.
ourselves, but we're also going about it a different way. We'll
Mhm.
get into that in another episode, because I
Yeah.
have a lot to say about
That
that.
definitely will be another really good episode, actually. Yeah.
I forgot
So
what
I
I was
think,
talking about though.
well, we were kind of
I
talking
went off on a tangent.
about the intention being from love when you send return to sender
Yes.
spell. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Hmm.
So it's with everything. So you want it for your highest good, but you also have to focus on having it for their highest good too.
Yeah.
What is the lesson that they need to learn out of doing this? Like what is the lesson that they can learn from their spite?
Hmm.
And it's not like for them to like step on Legos and stub their toe. It's not for that. Like I know that it's really hard to not want that, especially if they're being like super big assholes. But no, I mean, wait, it's the frame. It's the frame of mind.
Yeah.
It's that like looking at it as like being able to place yourself outside of what they have done to you and say, I really want them to grow from this. It's shitty for me. I don't want to carry it. I don't want to have that. on me, so I'm going to send it back, and I'm going to hope that like they see what they were doing to someone else, the
Yeah.
hurt that they were causing someone else, that the intention that they were sending towards someone else. I want them to see that, but I don't necessarily want something bad to happen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it depends. Like, I flip flop, right? Like, I grew up LDS, I grew up religious, I know about the prayer. For me, prayer isn't like a comfortable form,
Mm-hmm.
right? I like to get like completely fucking delusional with manifestations. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
I like to go big or go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm
That's
putting out a
actually,
manifestation,
yeah.
it's delusional because I know that it's going to come to me. It just doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be at the delusion of grandeur that I thought it was going to be.
And if you don't dream it, it can't come. Like that's the thing,
Exactly.
right? Like why limit ourselves with anything? Like this actually reminds me a bit of an example too. Uh, when we were purchasing our first house, it was a challenge. It was actually one of my biggest spiritual awakenings, but it was a struggle and I kept focusing on the struggle and it kept continuing being a struggle. And I also wasn't paying attention to the signs from the universe saying, it's coming. This isn't it. Like we were trying to build this house and it just wasn't working out. And we ended up not getting that house and it was a whole thing. But what's neat is looking back and then seeing the house we have now and all the list of things that I really wanted in this house that I felt like was Delulu. Like, there's no way I can have X, Y, and Z, like a greenhouse and a raised garden bed and a really sweet ass living room and enough bedrooms for us each to have like space and like all these things I couldn't believe. Didn't think it would actually happen. And then, like, a year after we got our actual first house, I was like, wait, like, all those things were in this house and I didn't even really pay attention to it. It was like that little like light bulb moment of like, oh, it works. It really works. You write the list down, you believe it, you're like, I'll have this. I'm excited. It's mine and it's gonna feel so good. And this is the energy. Oh, this is wild.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
I also want to talk about like, how is this possible? Like, what is it that like us speaking to the universe yields any results at all? Like, why would that be? And like, there's like a scientific theory that comes into play too. Like, we could look at it that way, like science wise, and
Yeah.
that's quantum entanglement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is quantum entanglement?
So quantum entanglement is essentially when there are two particles that are connected and they can be far away from each other or close together, and they will both be affected no matter how far the distance. So it's essentially like a link between particles, and it's been proven. So if you think of it that way, we are more than just ourselves. We have like there's been enough proof, even I would say proof in, let's say, those little kids that have memories of past lives and they're talking about being Bonnie from another lifetime and how they died and missing their brother and like that's not imagination. Like these kids are too small to even understand what that is. So to me, it's this link of we are more than just our bodies. We have an energy that inhabits the body that is linked to things outside of ourselves. So how could we not be able to call things in? We are our own creator beings of our own reality.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
So I think of quantum entanglement as like the synapses of the brain,
Yeah,
right? So there's us
visual.
here on this side of the veil, and we have a connection to our highest self, and then our highest self has a connection to source. So like, it's a bloop bloop bloop, right?
I like
Uh,
that.
it's There has to be something that connects us all.
Mhm.
Like there's got to be a reason that for thousands of years they've been talking about we are one. We are all the same energy. We are all part of the same source.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can't have that information that like keeps getting passed generation to generation for thousands of years since creation,
Through
right?
religion, through all of it.
That same principle,
Hmm.
that connection to everything. So why could you not ask that source being, that source energy, the piece of like you are a piece of it. So why could you not communicate with it
Hmm.
and say, all right, my reality looks like this? Like because so we are a piece of the universe experiencing itself from our perspective. Why can we not change that perspective? Like, why are we not allowed to?
Yeah.
Like, why do we think that we can't? We can't change something about the perspective that we're having. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
We have control of
like,
our thoughts to
right, like,
some extent.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, that quantum entanglement, right, is like we're a piece having an experience of itself. So, when we manifest, manifest, when we manifest, it's one of those days, okay? So when we manifest something into our reality, we are essentially just kind of manipulating how our experience is.
Right. That's a powerful way
That
to think of it
quantum,
too.
yeah, that quantum entanglement. And I really feel like that's quantum entanglement is like using a cell phone. I can use a cell phone, I can call, I can talk to somebody in like Japan on a cell phone. How? There's no line that's connecting us. There's nothing. Like somehow that communication gets there. So that's how it is. That's and that also goes with like what it's like to be psychic.
Yeah.
That's also so we all inherently have that in us because we exist. That quantum entanglement, that psychic, and that's why I think that everybody has psychic gifts. Like I am convinced, and you cannot convince me otherwise. We all have psychic gifts.
Yep.
We all have that ability innately in us.
It's not something that makes one person special. That's the chosen one. It's we all have the ability to tap into our intuition, to our gifts, to the universe, whatever you want to call it. Talk to God.
Right. And
Yeah.
it all comes back to that like quantum theory, quantum
Yeah.
entanglement theory
And it's the
is
scientifically proven theory, which will help anyone out there that's a little bit skeptical. Just
yeah,
saying.
because science.
Because science, not just woo-woo silliness. We're actually trying to help people understand that it's all the same thing.
Yeah. It's it's that same thing of like that quantum entanglement that like I was explaining like the synapses of the brain, like
Yeah.
us high self, da da da. It's just a waypoint. It's like an antenna. Our highest self is like an antenna.
Antenna?
Antenna
Antenna. Okay, okay. I like that.
to source.
I like that. It amplifies it, it connects it.
It's like a Wi-Fi booster.
The stepping stone delivers the message, and then it will help create whatever's for your highest good. So it's like keeping in mind sometimes just because you ask for things to happen, be open to things happening in a way like don't be so stuck on the result being exactly what you visualize. Instead, create like point forms for what are the things that you for sure want to happen or something that they deem better than, and let it be. Like don't be so caught up on it having to be rigidly this and this. Like our house didn't happen in the same town. Like I wasn't hung up on location. And that once I released the hang up of location, it just boom happened. So keeping in mind, like, where are you limiting yourself with your manifestations on like, I really need it to be exactly here. maybe that can't happen. Maybe they will create it somewhere else or somehow else that will be better for you. Being open to the possibility
Yeah.
is super important.
It's the timeline. It's
Mhm.
like, because you're like, in 2 months, I have to have this.
Yeah, that's a bit rigid.
It's, but you're also like, being rigid too also is like, okay, so you could be getting a lot of information, a lot of things that like you can learn from or grow from in that time.
Mm,
Because a manifestation is like, here is you, here's what you want. And like as you're climbing the stairs, right? You
mm,
could miss a step
yeah,
to there like that,
yeah,
and then you end up on this level instead of this level.
exactly.
So if you don't have like the open-mindedness to just receive, just receive
Yeah,
whatever it
exactly.
is. Keep it open, let it flow. You could be missing the steps to
Yeah.
get there. The gifts, the little nuggets, right? Because if I was like, "Oh, I didn't get $1 billion. This is bullshit," like I wouldn't have been able to like. There might have been something in there that I was supposed to learn, and I needed to acknowledge that.
Yeah. And you needed to do that step before other things came through. So keeping open to like, what are the repeating little nugget thoughts that come up as you're trying to manifest things that maybe you need to do something to make it happen. Being open to the things coming in. So that does kind of lead us to what we're going to be talking about next time, right? Like psychic gifts, intuition, tapping into what is your power? What can you do? And that's something that will help you with manifesting
Yeah,
because there might be more information you need to hear that you can use
yeah,
on a daily basis. To
exactly. Yes, exactly.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool when looking back and not even realizing like all the synchronicities there. So we're excited to share more stories for you guys because I know there's a lot. There's a lot of little nuggets that you can be opening your eyes to that might be life-changing. And the power
Yeah.
that you have within yourself to access all of this, to make things happen. Just
And
go.
it's also like so you can direct focus,
Yeah.
right? So like you have this goal in mind, but sometimes you have to make a detour.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to be like, okay, so focusing on it this way, like my priorities might change. My goal might change. You have to be able to like
Yeah.
know when to pivot. Essentially,
Yeah.
pivot.
Pivot. Like if you're
I
asking the universe, like, I want a cup of coffee right now, but you didn't push start on the coffee machine and you're trying to pour the milk in your cup and there's no coffee there. Like you're skipping steps that you may need to like be reminded of. Oh yeah, I got to do these other steps first.
yeah.
That's what that's a little bit about.
I mean, as long like if the goal is for you to align your highest self with that goal, right? You because you need to align yourself with that vibration
Mhm.
in order to get it. But like if you're missing a step, you're not going to be vibrating at that level. We'll
Exactly.
get into like vibrations and frequencies in another episode
Yeah.
because I could go off for hours about that.
Definitely. They all tie
But
together, but
you're
mhm.
aligning yourself, you're tuning in to that frequency of what you want to happen. And sometimes you have to dial back and then dial forward
Yeah.
to get
Well,
that.
and we'll
Like, right?
explain how
Like
that
it's
works.
just
Mhm.
like dialing in a radio
Yeah.
to get the clearest thing. You have to dial back, dial it. Like it's
Love it.
just yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to share before we wrap it up?
Hmm.
Okay.
Homework time.
One more time. Do, do, do.
So as part of like manifestation, we were talking about those small things that we often miss sometimes. I want you to to focus on like, and it doesn't even have to be prayers, like prayers, manifestation, spell work, but those tiny little nuggets that you've been given that are kind of like in a not like the universal like nod to you saying we hear you.
Yeah.
We hear you. And how those were translated to you and how you could have missed those.
And how you might have actually missed them
Yeah.
in the past. Look
Yes.
into that, right? Think back to times when you were trying to manifest. Think about the energy you were in when you were trying to do that. The verbiage that you used. Did you write it down? How did you write it down? Was it like, I really need this? Or how could you have done better with that?
Yeah. Somewhere in the near
Yeah.
future, I have.
Yeah. And if you're stumped, feel free to send us an email and we'll be happy to like work through, what you did and what maybe you could have missed that you needed to tweak or anything like that. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about something that maybe you had manifested and it didn't turn out exactly the way you thought it was going to,
Mm-hmm.
and what the steps were to that
Exactly.
manifestation come true, or
Yep.
prayer, or spell work.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And then our goal, our goal again for our subscribers is to reach 100. So if you guys can help us and share this podcast with anyone that you think would benefit from it, that you think would enjoy our content, please do so. And as soon as we reach 100 subscribers, we're going to create a Discord community for everyone to come and join us, and a safe space to land, essentially.
Safe space to land.
Yeah. The UFO
Where,
landing pad.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So this has
So
been episode 2 or 3. Episode 3.
episode 3. That's where we're at today. Okay,
Yeah.
we're dealing with a lot.
It's a day. Awesome.
Got a lot of astrological
Yeah.
shenanigans at the time
Mercury.
of this recording.
Mercury in the microwave and yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on Spiritually Awkward, and we will see you next time.